Hello and welcome to the training video for the MarinMap traffic counts application. When you enter the application, you will be greeted with this traffic counts how-to window. This window is designed to give you an overview of what the application offers in terms of data and layers, and a little bit of information on how to use the application and some of the tools available in the application. So once you've read through that, you can go ahead and select this Exit the How-To menu X button. And to begin my training here, I'm going to just work through some of the basic tools available out of the box in this application on the map. And then I will work my way through some of these tools available to us up here in the header menu after that. So to begin, I'll walk through the generic map tools, starting at the top left-hand side of the application here. We've got a zoom in and zoom out button. Does exactly what it says it will. By hitting the plus button, you can zoom in. Hitting the minus button, it will zoom out. As well as those tools, you can also just use your mouse wheel to zoom in and out and click around and maneuver the map as well. The next out of the box tool we've got is the default map view button, and that's just this little house icon below the zoom in and zoom out buttons. And what that will do is just bring us back to our default map view that the application loads on when it first loads. So if you are tooling around the map, looking at specific areas, and you want to get back out to this default view, you can select that home button. Next, we've got the Find My Location button, which is below the default map extent button. And we're not going to use this on the desktop side of things, but if you are viewing this application on a mobile device, whether that be a tablet or a phone, you can tap this Find My Location button and it will bring you to your live location in real time and show you on the map as a little blue dot. So if you're out in the public and you want to see what's around you in terms of the layers available to you on this map and application, you can tap that Find My Location button and look around and see what's around you on the map. Lastly, with the basic map tools here, I'm going to go through the search bar and search functionality available to us in this application. I'll select this down arrow here at the very left-hand side of the search bar, and you'll see it's defaulted to run all three of these searches that we've got available to us, which are search by address. So that's going to search on parcel addresses on the parcel layer that is within this map. And then you can also search by property ID, which also searches on the tax parcels layer within the map, but it's going to search on the property ID field instead of the address. And then we do have the ability to search by address or intersection search here. So we can find places on the map by a generic road name or road intersection. So I'm going to use an example here and just paste it in. So let's say I want to find the intersection of South Nevada Boulevard and Cheetah Knolls Drive. I'll enter that in and I'll just select it here from my search results, and that search will zoom me directly to that location on the map. And it does look like we have a traffic count here in that area, which is labeled here as well. So very simplistic search capabilities here if you want to search by address, tax parcel ID, or just a generic road intersection. You've got the capability to do all of that. So I'll remove that search and zoom back out to my default map view. And now I'll start working through the tools available to us in the header menu up here. And I'll just work my way from left to right and start with the map legend. So the map legend is a tool that's available to us that can be used for reference. It shows what all these layers are that are on the map and what they denote. One thing to note with the map legend is that it's only going to display active layers that are turned on the map. So in the next tool that I'll go through, it's the layers list tool where you can turn the layers on and off. So if you turn layers off, they won't display in this map legend. And if you turn them on, they will display in this map legend. And one thing to note with this as well is that some layers are only visible at specific map extents. So I'll zoom in here and you can see we've got some of these traffic count layers showing up now, and those will be visible to us in the map legend here now because those are visible at this map extent. The next tool I'd like to walk through is the Map Layers tool. And as mentioned earlier, this is where I can turn layers on and off on the map. I'm going to zoom out here again and show some of the functionality in the map layers here. So for example, these traffic counts layers that I was just looking at are only visible at a specific map extent. So when they're out past that extent in what you're viewing currently, they're going to show as grayed out because they're not visible at this extent. But when I zoom in and they become visible, you'll see that a gray out is disappeared from that group in the layers list here. Another thing to mention in the layers list here is that there are several groups within the layers list, and those can be expanded by clicking this little kind of arrow caret here that says expand. And then you can see there are kind of themed layers within these groups that are related to each other. So they're grouped up here. So you can expand those groups and turn layers on and off within that group one by one. Or if you want to turn an entire group off, you can go ahead and select that check mark next to that group name, and that will turn off that entire layer group. Another neat thing available within the Map Layers tool is the ability to search for a layer. So if you know that there's a layer you want to turn on or off, but you don't know which group it's in, you can just type it into the search bar here. I've got an example here for the freeway ramp traffic counts. I can type in the beginning of that layer name and it will filter everything, and I can turn that off now because I found it. If I didn't know that it was in that traffic counts group, I could have just searched for it and found it that way. And then I'll clear that, and that will show me the rest of those layers available to us again. Another neat aspect of the Map Layers tool is the ability to change transparency on the layers. So if you've got a lot of layers turned on at one time, the map can get a little bit busy. So we've added the ability to change the transparency of layers. So if I check into that transparency, and keep your eye on these traffic counts layers here. If I increase the transparency, you'll see they'll get a little bit more see-through and a little bit more transparent the further I get to 100%. Now you can see they're almost gone. I'll bring them all the way to 100 and they're not showing up. But if I bring it back down to 0, now you can see them again. So a pretty useful tool there if you get into areas where there's a lot of layers and the map looks a little bit busy. You can always adjust the transparency of those layers within the Map Layers tool here. I'll close out of that. And the next tool I'd like to walk through is the Attribute Queries tool. Now, the Attribute Queries tool is going to allow us to drill down into the traffic counts data and find specific records from that data that we might want to zoom to or just look at their feature information. So I'll start with the freeway ramp traffic counts layer. I'll go into that query, and you can see we've got two queries here within that. So we have the ability to select a ramp traffic count based on the ramp ID or the ramp number. So if I wanted to find a specific ramp ID, we'll just go with an example here that I select and click apply. And that's going to zoom me directly to that specific ramp. And it's going to show me the attribution tied to that ramp. It's going to show me the location, the cross street, the average daily count of traffic, the peak hour, peak period counts, all of that information. I'll go ahead and remove that by selecting that trash can icon. And that will bring me back to my original query here. I'll remove that ramp ID query, and let's say I want to find a different ramp based on the ramp number, and I'll go with ramp number 4. We'll click apply, and that's going to zoom me to ramp number 4, and again show me some of that attribution tied to that ramp. So it's going to show it highlighted here on the map once I've queried it out, and then it's going to show me that attribution as well. Go ahead and clear those results and go back to the main query. And let's say that you are done with your queries here. You can select this reset button at the very bottom right hand side of the query menu, and that's going to reset all of the queries that you've set. I'll select this back button, and next we'll query out some of the CMP count locations. And this query is set up to query by street name or street segment ID. I've got some examples here. I will choose Novato Boulevard and select apply. And with this query, you'll see we've got 2 segments that are tied to Novato Boulevard. So it's going to return both of those segments here in my results. And if I wanted to select one of those results and zoom directly to it and show it highlighted, I would just select that in my results here. And then you can see my map zoomed directly to that selected segment. If I wanted to zoom to that second segment, I would just select that. I'll clear my results here, and that will zoom me back out to my main view. I'll reset that query, and then if I wanted this query based on segment ID, I'll select 6B here, and that's going to zoom me to that specific segment of Novato Boulevard. And again, it's going to show me that attribution and highlight it on the map. I'll clear my results, and then I'll reset my results to reset those queries. And lastly, we will set a query for the non-CMP count locations. Again, we're just going to have a drop down here for street names and street segment ID, very similar to our last example. We'll go to Main Gate Road, we'll click apply, and that's going to zoom me directly to Main Gate Road, highlighted on the map, and then show me that attribution. Go ahead and clear the results. And I won't do this again for example's sake, but I could do the same thing for street segment ID as well. So I'll go ahead and reset that. And that is the Attribute Queries tool. I'll close out of there. And next, I would like to go over the Basemap gallery. The Basemap gallery is a very simple tool. It just controls the basemap visible on the application below all of the layers that are available on the application. So let's say I wanted to view just this Firefly imagery beneath the layers instead of that light gray canvas. I'll select that basemap. Now you can see we've got some aerial imagery to help with some analysis, maybe get your bearings a little bit better if you can see some of those areas of interest that you might be used to seeing on an aerial image instead of just the gray base map. So scrolling through here, we've got several options within the Basemap gallery. Lots of different ways you can display the data. These base maps can make more of a difference than you might think. And we've got several options there for you to help display the data for you that works best for you. I'll close out of the Basemap gallery. And next we will go to the Bookmarks tool. The Bookmarks tool is very simple. We've just got several bookmarks set for our home view. I'll select that first home button, and that's going to bring us back out to that default map extent, very similar to this default map extent button. And then next we've just got cities and communities that we have bookmarked here. So let's say you come into the map and you want to go right to Sausalito. I'll select Sausalito bookmark. It will zoom me directly to Sausalito. And then we've got all sorts of other options here with bookmarks. Let's say we want to go to Belvedere next. I'll choose Belvedere. And then I want to go to Fairfax. I can select Fairfax and it will zoom me to that location. So a very quick way to zip around the map and find areas of interest a little bit more quickly than zooming in with just your zooming tools. I will exit out of the bookmarks. And the next tool we will discuss is the measurement tool. I'm going to zoom in a little bit closer here for this example. All right, I've zoomed into my area of interest here. And let's just say that I want to create a measurement to measure out this segment of Sir Francis Drake Boulevard, Butterfield Road to Willow Road. I can select the measure distance button here at the top left of the measurement tool. And then it's going to prompt me to start a measurement by clicking the map to place my first point. So I'm going to just hover over this far left segment of the traffic count segment, and I'm going to select that, and I'm just going to run my measurement along here. We'll click along these vertices. You can see it's catching several layers that I can snap to create my measurement. And I'll just keep moving along the line here, and we'll call that good for my measurement. So I'm just going to double click to complete my measurement. And now we can see here it's giving me my distance measurement, which is 0.19 miles. The measurement unit is going to default to imperial, which means that it's going to measure out in feet until I get over 1,000 feet. And then once I get over 1,000 feet, it's going to default up to miles. I can, however, change that measurement unit after I've completed my measurement. So if I want to view this measurement in, let's say, feet again, I can select feet and it's going to show me that that measurement is 1,022 feet. And we've got several different measurement units here to choose from. So those can be selected at any time to change your measurement unit. I'll go ahead and clear my measurement. And then I will demo how to measure an area. I'll do that just by selecting that measure area button. And again, this is going to be the same process as it was for measuring a distance. I'll just hover over the map. Let's say I want to measure the parcel area of 1590 Sir Francis Drake Boulevard. I'll select that first point at the northwest corner of the parcel, then select that southwest, then the southeast, and the northeast, and then this last little segment here, and I'll double click. And that's going to show me my area measurement in, again, imperial for the measurement unit, which means it's going to show the area anything less than 100,000 square feet, it's going to show in square feet. And then if I get over that 100,000 square feet, it's going to change that unit to square miles. It's also going to show me the perimeter of my area measurement. And again, if I want to change that measurement unit, I can change this. Let's say I want to see this in acres. I can select acres. That's updated my area measurement to 0.21 acres here in the tool, and then on that label on the map as well. I'll clear that measurement and exit out there. And next I will go through the print tool. So I'll select the print tool from the top header menu here. And that will send me into the print menu here that we can see. So I can select a template. That's going to give me several predetermined templates. It's going to show me my page size at the left-hand side, and then it's going to show me whether or not that's a landscape or portrait layout. So landscape's going to be my wide layout, and portrait's going to be my taller kind of north to south layout. We'll keep that at A3 landscape, and then we'll update the title to test print. And then I'm going to select into this advanced menu to further customize my print here. We'll keep this current map extent because let's say this is what I want to print out. Change the author to test. Copyright to this is a test print I'll select that include legend and include north arrow. We'll keep the scale bar unit at miles and then keep that print quality at 96 dpi, and we'll go ahead and click print. And one thing to note, the author and copyright are a good place that if you just have some generic notes that you need to add to your printout, that's a place you can add those. And we'll go over once my print is completed here where those will show up on my printed map. So to view my print results, I'll just move over to this results tab here within the print menu and select that. And here we can see my test print is completed. So I'll click in there. Here's my test print. This is just going to show me the current view that I had of the application. It's going to show me my map legend, the time of printing, that scale bar, the north arrow that I chose to include, and then we've got the author and copyright information down here at the bottom right hand side of the printout. So that's where you would include those notes if you want to include them on your printout. And as you can tell, the print did just open in a new browser tab. So to save this, I'll just right click and you can select Save Image As. And you can save that as a JPEG, a PNG, or a PDF, or whatever format that you'd like to save that in. I'll exit out there and we'll go back to the application. The next tool I'd like to discuss is the Share tool. So I'll select that. The Share tool is a very quick and easy to use tool. We can copy a short link of this application if you want to send it in a message where it doesn't give you the entirety of the link. Keep it simple that way. And then it does give you the ability to embed, so you can embed the app directly into a message or an email or something like that. You can create a QR code, so if you want to include a link to this application in some sort of documentation or a place where people can just scan it with a mobile device and then access it, you can create a QR code using this QR code tool here. If you want to send it via email, you can select this email button and that will prompt your default email provider on your machine to start and open a new email and include a link to this application in that email body. Then you can share directly to social media with these links to Facebook, X, Pinterest, and LinkedIn. Next, we've got the Add Data tool, and this can be helpful for adding reference data that you might have access to on your local machine or something out on ArcGIS Online or something like that. So we can just select Click to Add Data, and we've got some options here. You can search via ArcGIS Online or the Living Atlas. So if there's some reference layers that you're aware of that are publicly shared out on ArcGIS Online, you can search for them and add them to the application from this Add Data tool. And then you can also add an ArcGIS layer via a service URL, utilizing the URL option here and pasting in that service URL and adding in that service that way. Or you can add a file here if you need to add something specific like a shapefile. Close out of there. And next we'll go to the coordinates tool. Again, a very basic tool that helps the end user export some coordinates that they might need to use. So if you follow the tool here, it's going to give me an updated coordinate as I move my cursor around the map. So it's going to show that. And then if I want to export a set of coordinates from the map, I can select this button here at the very left-hand side of the coordinates tool, and I can select any point on the map. So let's say I want to share the coordinates of 1604 Sir Francis Drake Boulevard. I can click that parcel. It's going to give me a little point on the map here, and then it's going to give me those coordinates for that point that I dropped on the map. And then I can select this copy button here within the tool, and that's going to copy that to my machine's clipboard. So if I want to send that over to someone in a message or include it in an email or something like that, you would just have to paste that in after you've copied it from the tool here. And then I'll just disable that click to get coordinates by reselecting this button here at the left-hand side of the coordinates tool. Next, I'd like to walk through the data table for the application. So the data table is a place that we can view attribute information for every single layer that is available on this application. I will walk through, let's go to the CMP count locations. All the layers are available in the table here. It's in alphabetical order, so if you want to find a specific layer that's available within the application and view it in a tabular format, you can find that alphabetically here. So we'll go to the CMP count locations since that's what this application is designed to be specifically viewing. We can view all of those CMP count location and then all of the attribute fields tied to them. One neat thing about this is if you wanted to search based on one of these field names, you can just select that specific field and it will sort it alphabetically. So you can see here, it's doing that. And then another neat function is that if you find a count location that you want to zoom to on the map, you can select it here in the table. And you can see it's selected because it turns orange here, and then we'll exit out of the table and it zoomed me directly to that, that segment. So we'll go back into the table and it's still selected here. So we'll go ahead and clear that selection by selecting clear selection. We also have this refresh button, which if you've sorted your fields and you don't want to see them in that sorted view anymore, you can refresh them and it will refresh that view. We've got the ability to show and hide columns within these tables as well. By selecting into that tool, we can show fewer columns if you want, or you can make them visible again. So if you want to view only specific fields for these tables, you can come into the show hide columns and select which ones you want to see and which ones you do not want to see. We also have the ability to filter by map extent. So if you're on the map and you want to see a specific segment of the count locations, you can do that by filtering by your map extent. So if I zoom out here, we'll let the map load. I think we've got a few more CMP count locations here in this area. And then we'll go back into the table and you can see it's updated now. We've got 12 records that we're looking at because those are what are visible within that map extent. Next, I'll go over the actions available to us within the table tool here. We've got the ability to set a filter on all data. So if I want to come in and set a filter on the CMP count locations, I'll have to enable this filter first by selecting this toggle button, and then I can add a clause. So if I want to see all count locations where facility contains Novato, I can set that and it's going to show me all facilities that contain the text Novato. So if there's anything carried in any of these data fields, you can set a filter on it and view the data in tabular fashion in that with that filter set on it. And to remove that filter, you just exit out of that clause, and then you can disable your filter by setting that toggle button there again. And then the next thing I want to talk about in the tools available to us in the table here is the ability to export to CSV. So we can export all of these layers to CSV format if you want to see it in spreadsheet format. One thing to note with that export to CSV is if you've got any data filter set on that data and then you export it out to CSV, it's only going to show you those filtered results. So if you want to see filtered results, it's pretty powerful, but if you want to export the entirety of that layer, just be careful that you don't have a filter set on it when exporting. I'll exit the download table. And lastly, I'd like to discuss the help menu here. It's our last tool up here on the header menu at the far right. I'll select that, and this is going to bring back up that help menu that we first saw when we entered the application. Again, going to give us that how-to information and then a little bit of information regarding what this application is designed to show to end users, as well as some hints on how to use some of the tools. And then there is a button here at the bottom that brings us back to that attribute table and download table view that we just went through. With that, that's all I've got for today's training video. I hope you enjoyed the video and I hope it helps you use this application and that you find this application useful for whatever you're using it for. Thank you very much for your time.